The report is set down for consideration. No bills have been introduced. The House comes to questions for oral answer, and the first question is in the name of Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What steps is the government taking to keep down the cost of living for New Zealanders?
Honourable Bill English.
The government has taken a number of steps and, assisted by general economic conditions, is helping to keep interest rates at 50-year lows and annual inflation at around 1%. The steps the government has taken is to maintain a track to surplus, which will take the pressure off interest rates and reduce inflation pressures. Responsible and orthodox monetary policy is helping keep inflation low. Increased competition in the electricity industry has halved the 8% annual increase in electricity prices in the 9 years up to 2008. We're cutting red tape and increasing flexibility for businesses means better prices for customers, and investing in infrastructure and delivering better public services helps the economy become more competitive.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
Thank you. To the Minister of Finance, what recent reports has he received on the cost of living?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, one measure of the cost of living is the Consumer Price Index. Statistics New Zealand Today report that consumer prices rose 0.4% in the March quarter, and annual inflation, that is the inflation for the year up to the end of March, was 0.9%. This means that annual inflation has now been running at 1% or less for 4 quarters. This is well down on inflation of more than 5% per annum, which was the rate when the government took office in late 2008. The impact of low inflation on interest rates means that a family with a $200,000 mortgage is around $200 a week better off in interest payments compared to late 2008.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
To the Minister of Finance, what reports has he received on recent food prices? What reports has he received on recent food prices?
Honourable Bill
English. The food price index came out last week for March. Of course, food prices fluctuate often for seasonal reasons as much as cost and price inflation reasons. This report showed that food prices fell in the month of March. Food prices for the year to March, which encompasses the whole seasonal cycle, fell by 0.4%. That is, on average, food prices for the year to March went down.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
To the Minister of Finance, how do these moderate cost of living increases compare to increases in real after-tax wages?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these moderate increases, and of course for some classes of expenditure such as food reductions in the cost of living, compare quite favourably with wage increases in the last 5 years. Since September 2008, gross wages have increased by 14%. After tax, they have increased by 22%. Inflation has been 9%, which means that real after-tax wages have increased by 12% since September 2008. In the 9 years up to September 2008, after-tax wages increased by only 4%.
Supplementary question, David Shearer.
Is it correct that power prices went up by 5.2% to the 31st of March, which is nearly 6 times the rate of inflation? Can you confirm that?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I'll take the member at his word. That price increase is included in the collective CPI, which went up by 0.9% for the year. So some households would have paid more for electricity and they paid less for food. On balance, their cost of living went up 0.9%. But all households are grateful the Labor government is no longer in charge.
Order.
Because under them...
Order. That's Quite a sufficient answer. Thank you. Supplementary question, Sue Moroney.
Well, can he explain then how keeping ACC levies artificially high keeps down the cost of living for New Zealanders, when the regulatory impact statement of this decision shows that the government's refusal to lower levies, as recommended by ACC and MOBI, is costing workers' employers up to $2 billion more a year than what is needed to cover the cost of injuries?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, that is a bit rich coming from the party who expanded entitlement to ACC without increasing the levies. But I agree with the member. If we can continue to reduce ACC levies, it will reduce the cost of living. And 2 years ago, we did decrease those levies by $600 million per year, and we are looking for every opportunity to decrease them further.
Supplementary question, Ian Lees-Galloway.
Mr Speaker, how does increasing fuel taxes by 9 cents a litre keep the cost of living down, especially given that transport officials advised the government that an increase of that magnitude would raise nearly $20 billion more than what's required to carry out their road building program?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I don't agree at all with the member's last assertion. In fact, the fuel tax is calibrated to the roading investment program in a highly transparent manner. That fuel tax increase is part of the collective measure of price increases, the CPI, which shows that over the last year the cost of living went up by 1%. And I hope Labor keeps going on about this issue, because the more they complain about the rise in the cost of living, the lower it seems to be.
Point of order, Ian Lees-Galloway.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table 2 tables from a briefing received by the Minister of Transport from the Ministry that indicate that fuel excise taxes of 9 cents a litre will generate nearly $20 billion more than required.
Leave us sought to table those 2 tables. Is there an objection? There appears to be none. They can be tabled. Question number 2, David Shearer.
Speaking to the Prime Minister, does he stand by all his statements?
Mr Speaker,
Right, Honourable
yes.
Prime Minister.